I'd like to share with you my first recipe for my first innovation. It started off with me putting together everything for my go-to-market strategy. I was excited, I was ambitious, I was hungry for success. And I was looking to disrupt the next big thing. I was going to 2 different industries, the health and beauty and the food sectors. I had family and friends tell all potential customers and investors about what was about to come. And everything that was about to come from this day was going to be magical. Unfortunately, my venture didn't quite work out. I was 5. And I was selling magic potions from my bedroom. It turns out, taking tubes from my sister, mixing shampoo with detergent, vinegar, and other condiments wasn't quite the recipe for a successful and sustainable high-growth business. But that didn't stop me. I went on to my next venture when I was 7. And now I thought, let me disrupt the media industry. So I put together a newspaper. And this newspaper had so many articles from various non-existent journalists and editorial teams. Again, the Daily London didn't quite take off. But it was all about the process. And I really enjoyed it. Because, you see, back then, failure didn't mean anything to me. I was creating because I was. But as time went on, I began to see that I was innovating less and less with the ventures that I was doing in my teenage years. And I started to look around, and I could see that it was time to start thinking about a successful career to come. Because that's what everyone else was doing. Who's going to go around mixing potions or creating things? So I decided I wanted to do what a lot of people want to do prior to the 2007 financial crisis. I wanted to be an investment banker. Extremely exciting, putting slides together and doing other things that bankers do. Being a change agent is something that I felt came quite naturally to me. I would always look around me. I would find things, mix them together, and I would try to make things happen. But change is a scary thing. Humans are afraid of change. Change is uncomfortable, and people like to be comfortable, like investment bankers. And what ended up happening in 2012, I ended up landing myself a placement in my penultimate year while studying Chinese and economics. In a top investment bank in London, I had made it. I was excited, and I was living the dream. It was around 24 hours in, and I was absolutely bored out of my brains. I knew I wasn't destined for this. This was everything that my soul stood against. I felt so constrained that I started to wonder. And when I started to wonder, I started to get curious. And when I started to get curious, I started to get creative again. And just like that, the potions came back. In 2013, prior to graduating, I was on a leadership course where I met my co-founder. My co-founder, who ironically was a banker for 10 years. And we both really saw a problem that we were looking to address. And we identified it as the next generation not being able to take a step on the property ladder. And what seemed at the time a mission to be able to democratize wealth and give access to this high barrier to entry market, there was a solution. And this is when the emergence of crowdfunding came through. Crowdfunding property investment was a solution, but it could only be done with the aid of technology. And so, myself and my co-founder, with our personal backgrounds, our technology, we put together a recipe for what we thought would be a startup to come. And we sat in a room in his house, and we got going. And we built our mission. And our mission was to build a global exchange for people to trade shares and properties, essentially giving everyone a piece of the pie. And Byoot was created. And I'm proud to say that today we have a 40-person team, and we have digitized across the entire property sector in its entirety across the supply chain, from developments and managements to waste collection. This, for me, is innovation at its core. You see, enterprise and innovation go hand in hand. And whilst we are always taught that profitability is always the bottom line that we are looking for, innovation can help us do some great things in this world. I want to share with you today some of the technologies that are disrupting the finance and property sectors. For one reason or another, these are some of the last sectors to be disrupted by the technological advancements. We are now at a stage where we can connect, we can transact, we can be entertained and travel all on demand and at the click of a button. And so I want to show you some of these technologies, and perhaps you too may be able to use them in your respective spaces to transform them and transform industries in the process. I'd like to give you 3 examples. The first example is how we own land. Now, if I take you back 1,000 years, a lot of people don't really know how people own land here in the United Kingdom. But if suffice to say that it was actually not that complicated. It was mainly through hearsay. People didn't really know who owned what. There was a very complex legal system, and most of the deeds were scrolls in Latin. And this made for a very, very difficult journey for the next few hundred years to come, where so many lands across the United Kingdom were taken over through battles, and probably partially one of the reasons. And in 1862, the Lord Chancellor Bethel at the time introduced the land registry. The land registry that we have today, where we're able to search and find something. What we're able to see is that property technology has had an impact on what was initially the title deed of the past, to what we have today by going on and searching online, to what we will have in the future. You see, the blockchain is the technology behind the digital currency Bitcoin. But this technology will have a massive impact on the real estate world to come. By giving a digital correspondence to every single property around the world, we will have information about every single part of the journey, from financials and legals to the physical attributes. But not only that, it will take us to the next step of transacting in terms of speed. For what currently takes now months and weeks will start to take seconds and minutes. And this is something that we're onboarding at Byoot, something that we're looking to innovate, because when you combine crowdfunding shares with proprietary logic and big data, you get out on the other side trading shares in the same way that you do with stocks and commodities. Another area that's being affected is the construction industry within the property world. When we think of things being built, we always often look and think about manual skilled labor. And if I take you back a few thousand years, we can go back to the ancient Egyptians when they built the pyramids. Now, scientists and historians have concluded that they definitely used rudimentary technology to get the job done. They would wet the sand to reduce friction. They would work out 90-degree angles from the stars, and they built it near a quarry to transport. Now, this is an exceptional structure to have withstood the test of time. But in today's world, obviously, we have advanced technologies. We use sand and cement for foundations, and we use bricks and mortar for structures. But we still have skilled labor force intact. But over the coming years, we are going to start having machinery and drones building structures for us. This is Sam. Sam is an automated bricklayer. And Sam was made by a company in the US called Construction Robotics. Now, the future of building things will, in turn, eliminate the workforce. Now, this will have adverse effect on the economy, but it will also shift it. And we just need to make sure that we reposition people into different jobs within the sector. The last one, and the last example that I would like to give you, is augmented reality and virtual reality. Because augmented reality gives us an enhanced perception of what the current world is. But on the contrary, virtual reality gives us a simulated real-world example. And it takes us away by just putting on a headset. Now, this is going to transform everything that we will be doing in this sector, from the way you see photos and the way you see plans. You will physically be able to walk into something, open doors, and see where to put furniture and other amenities within the property. This is an augmented reality vision that we've put together, where you'll be able to point at your phone, your phone points at the property, and will be able to take in the data to be able to transact and invest. Virtual reality, on the other hand, allows you to be able to see everything and walk around. Innovation has led us to a bit of a crossroads. Today's world, we can see that there is a lot going on the negative side. We see cities being destroyed, we see poverty, and we see an increase in diseases. But on the optimistic side, which is a side that I want us to look at, I want us to see how innovation and technology has taken us into a different direction, and we're actually at a very pivotal point in time where we can adopt this and we can make these changes in the world. You only have to look as far as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the work they're doing in helping curing malaria, or helping people come out of poverty by giving them resources, or becoming more resourceful. But what I want to share with you today is the ingredients for innovation, so that you too can take them away and take it into your own space. And so the first one is focus and curiosity. We are a generation which is unable to focus. I can probably predict that people are on their Twitter timelines already at the moment, on their Twitter feeds, checking out their messages. And that's okay. But we need to start moving away from it a bit, because the focus is not in allowing us to do great work, to have great craft, and to produce things in this world that we need. We have less innovators and more people using the innovations. And that needs to shift, because when we can get people to focus, they can start having that space to think, and when they think, they can be curious, and when they're curious, they can be more creative. The second thing is for us to try and test. And what I mean by this is we need to start trying and iterating without the fear of failure at the end of it, because we need to redefine what failure actually is. Failure is something that we see as a setback, but every time we produce something new, it's actually a leap forward. Just think about how far we have come from when Alexander Bell introduced the telephone to the smartphone that we have today. The computational power that you have that only a few decades ago governments didn't have. And the last thing is to learn and improve. For us to take this all in, to go out there, see what we did, take that leap and make it better, because there is no such thing as perfect. There is only getting better and better. And so what I want you to do is I want you to take these ingredients. I want you to take everything that you've taken from this space, make your own potions, and go and change the world. Thank you.